Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to another Scooter Hut video. And today we're going to be taking you over the ins and outs of how to correctly choose a scooter for yourself or someone you may be purchasing for. So we're not only going to be talking about the size of the scooters, but also what their intended use is going to be. So I have three different scooters here with me today. I have the Long Way Summit Mini, I have the Envy Prodigy, and I have the Root Industries Heir RS. And as you can see, they are all drastically different sizes. So let's start off with the Summit Mini and talk to you a little bit about who this might suit and who it won't. So if you're needing a much smaller scooter than usual, then we're going to use the Summit Mini here as reference, as this is one of the smallest pro scooters that we stock. Every scooter we're going to be talking about today is pro scooter level, meaning that you can take these to the skate park, they're going to take the bumps and bruises and anything that you or your child may be throwing at it. So who exactly is going to be perfect for a Summit Mini? Well, the first thing we're going to talk about is how to correctly size up a scooter to your stature. So the guideline is as follows. You want to go from around your belly button down to the bottom of your pockets, and that's the range where your bar should hopefully sit. Running bars above your belly button is not only going to make the bars feel a lot more uncomfortable, but it's also going to increase the risk of your bars being too close to your face, which is something you definitely don't want to hit on your bars. Now on the opposite end of the spectrum, below your pockets, you're going to be running the risk of, again, the bars being uncomfortable. You're going to be putting pressure on your lower back, and again, this is not something you want to be doing when riding a scooter, especially for long periods of time. So you want to try to find that sweet spot between your belly button down to your bottom of your pockets that you find the bars feel most comfortable in. So let's check out how this Summit Mini stands up next to me and why this scooter may not be perfect for someone like myself. So as you can see here, the Summit Mini comes just below my pocket line, which is right on borderline too small. If I was to use this scooter on the daily, I'm going to be running the risk of injuring my back, as well as just injuring myself because the scooter is just too small for me. So next on this size guide list, we have the Envy Prodigy. Now we've spoken a little bit of where roughly the size of your bars would like to sit on your body, but now let's talk about decks. So decks come in all shapes and sizes and for different reasons. Some decks are going to be considered more park orientated, while others are going to be considered more street orientated. The park decks are generally going to be a little bit smaller in length as well as width, whereas the street decks are probably going to be a little bit wider and a little bit longer. If you're wanting to look at a much lighter scooter as well as something that you can do all your overhead, bri flip and whip tricks, you might be looking for something in the park orientated side of things. So park orientated size decks, they'll usually come in anywhere from 19 inches long all the way up to something like 21 inches long, and the width of the decks will generally start at around 4.5 all the way up to 5 to 5.1. Now the reason why the quote unquote street orientated decks are a little bit larger is because they have a lot more surface area, meaning that you're going to be able to lock into grinds as well as be more stable when doing the technical side of tricks because of the larger deck. Now just remember, everything that we're talking about today is just guidelines. It's not going to suit everyone. This is just something that you can use to base your purchases off. As an example, we've got Timmy and Jimmy over here. They're twins, they're both 6 foot tall. Timmy, however, wants to ride a park-orientated scooter. Jimmy wants to ride a street-orientated scooter. Even though they are both 6 foot tall, Timmy is probably going to have a little bit smaller scooter than Jimmy because of the different ways they intend to use it. So let's have a look at how this Prodigy lines up next to my body and why it may or may not be a perfect size scooter for me. So as you can see here, the Envy Prodigy is coming smack bang in the middle of that golden sweet spot for me. It is in the middle of my belly button and the bottom of my pockets. So this generally is going to be a good size scooter for me, and I would be happy riding this. And last but not least, we're going to be talking about this big boy right here, the Root Industries Heir RS. And as you can tell, it is a much larger scooter than all the previous ones we've spoken about. So would I recommend a scooter like this to a younger kid or someone that's smaller in stature? Probably not. So following all the guidelines we've spoken about so far, let's see how this scooter sizes up to me and why it's probably going to be a little bit too big. So as you can see right here, the Heir RS is quite large on myself. The bars come in well over my belly button and almost halfway up my chest. So this scooter for me, definitely a no-no. Now just remember that everyone is a little bit different and scootering is a personal preference based sport. Even though this scooter might be a little bit too big for me, it might be the perfect size for you. Now, as you can see, the bar height of this scooter came up to my chest, and as said, this is not something we want to recommend because it is above the belly button height and it's just too tall for me. However, if you are still a young developing rider, you may be wanting a bar that is a little bit taller than what you'd expect because it's better to grow into a scooter rather than out of a scooter. If you're someone between the age ranges of anywhere from 8 all the way up to 14, somewhere where you're going to be doing a lot of growing, if you get a bar that is going to be smack bang in the middle between your belly button and the bottom of your pockets, you may grow out of this scooter quite quickly. So this is why we recommend, if you are a beginner scooter rider and you're getting your very first scooter, that you would generally want to go to the belly button range, maybe even pushing it a little bit higher, purely for the reason that, as said, it is better to grow into the scooter rather than out of it. Now, if you're on the opposite end of the spectrum and you have gotten a scooter that is a little bit too tall, fear not, because we do offer the service of cutting bars down. And we can do this in-store or online. Just make sure if you are purchasing it online, you leave in the notes of the checkout what preferred size of the bars you'd like to have. Now, if you are an online shopper and you aren't able to get into one of our physical Scooter Hut stores and you don't know exactly what the scooter online is going to stack up next to you in person, fear not, because on our website, www.scooterhut.com.au, you can find detailed specs of not only just the scooters we've spoken about today, but all of our range here at Scooter Hut. This will include bar height, the overall height of the scooter, deck length, deck width, weight, whatever you need to know. And if there's any extra questions you may not be able to find the answer to, we not only have a dedicated online team that can take your phone calls and emails and respond to you quickly, but across all of our retail stores, we also have a bunch of friendly and well-experienced retail staff members that'll be happy to give you a helping hand with any questions you may have. Anyway, thanks for watching this video. We hope the information has helped you when it's going to come to purchasing your first or your next custom complete or pro scooter.